Hola, mi gente. You are listening to Dancing into Parenthood, the Entre la Familia series, where Latinos get to hear our stories about raising our children with special needs. I am your host, Dr. Divina Lopez, board certified pediatrician for over 10 years and mom to a little boy with autism and ADHD. My motherhood journey has been my greatest inspiration to creating this podcast because when it comes to our community, we have unique circumstances that we keep entre la familia that we need to share and no longer keep quiet about. On this show, I will give you the tools, information, and strategies to raising a happy and healthy human being. Each week, I am connecting you with other Latino families who have generously shared their personal journeys and struggles so that you can have clarity and insight on what it takes to raise such a special child. Before the episode starts, I want to remind you to follow us on social so you don't miss out on all the support I love to share with you. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok at Dr. Divina Lopez, and any place that you hang out on the internet. Also, I can't wait to start the parent sessions. We're starting group parent sessions, and I want you to be there. I want to help guide you if you are struggling with parenthood, if you don't have support, if you're insecure about the choices that you're making for your child, if you just want to get it right for your child, then I encourage you to join the 12-week program where we will meet once a week and I will teach you how to advocate for your child, how to navigate the medical system, how to navigate the educational system, where to find your support system, and how to build healthy family relationships so we can break those toxic cycles, create boundaries with family members, and also learn to love ourselves through it all. All right, mi gente, I want to see you there. So make sure that you go to my website and that you drop your email in there. That way you are the first to know when the group sessions start. Now let's get into the episode. Welcome back to Dancing into Parenthood. And today I have a big treat for everyone because I'll be interviewing my son, who is currently 11 years old. And we want to just do a little interview about what his preschool experience was like. So just to give you some background information, Aaron had a pretty typical development, I want to say until about like 2 years old. That's when I started noticing some things. I actually no, it was even before that. He had issues with feeding himself, so he has some fine motor deficits, which caused me to take him for an occupational evaluation to see whether or not he would qualify for services, and he did, but that was about 3 years old. So Aaron, I want to start talking about when you were about 3 years old and we put you into a new preschool. We're not going to say the name of it or anything like that because we don't want anyone to feel bad. But I want to talk about how, first of all, Aaron was put into a pre-K class, which was not for his age. He was put into a pre-K 4 class when he should have been in a pre-K 3 class. The reason that they did that was because he has a December birthday and they felt like he would fit in better with the pre-K 4 class. I fought that a little, but they insisted that that was the right class for him. And when Aaron had begun at that preschool, they did expect him to be quite independent for feeding himself, which was already a challenge. And because he was on the smaller side, height and weight wise, that was always something that was concerning for me personally. So Aaron, let's talk a little bit about when you entered into that school. After being there for a little while and having some experience there in that classroom and with that teacher, what were some of the things that you felt as a student there?
Well, I don't really remember too much, but there are quite a few things that I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't say that there's not much when there is quite a few things that I could remember, but I mean, like, by that, I mean, I don't remember every single detail, but
Yeah, but just share what you do remember.
yeah, so I think I remember that I don't think, like, I had a hard time, like, playing properly with, like, all the like all the kids that were there
Okay.
because they were all older than me by a few months, and I was younger, and I had and still do have sometimes trouble, like, understanding things.
Mm.
And well, back then it was really bad, and like I kept getting like impatient for my part to start playing with everyone else, and then like I can't really remember, but I remember that. And then oh my god, I also remembered that teacher that was extremely nasty with me,
Mm-hmm.
who definitely treated me unfair.
What do you mean by that?
Like, she treated me like if I was bad.
What does she do? Like, give some examples.
Yelled at me, like things like that. Oh my god. And mommy did say that she always was like annoyed by like every time in the morning that
Mm-hmm.
I had to use the bathroom, and I was little and I didn't know how to undo my pants back then, so my mom had to do it for me because back then I was little. But everyone else could do it, but I still couldn't because for some reasons that I don't know, it would be too complex. Like I would have to make a whole nother. We would
Well,
have to
that's
make
part of your like
yeah yeah
the
like
muscles in your hands being a little weak.
yeah
So the same
exactly
reason why it was a little hard for you to like use the utensils to feed yourself is the same reason why you had those issues with like the buttons and the zippers.
yeah
And then shortly after that, I just started buying you everything with like the elastic waistband instead of.
yeah because that teacher was like so
Mhm.
annoyed
Yeah.
of you always having to come with me to the bathroom every morning, and
Yeah.
that I even had to use the bathroom every morning.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why she was annoyed about me having to use the bathroom every morning because everyone has to use the bathroom.
I know.
What?
And I just wanted to make sure that you got that out of the way before you started your day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember one time where we were watching a movie and I raised my hand
Mm-hmm.
for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like 45 minutes or like an hour.
It felt like a really long
Yeah.
time. Uh-huh.
I know I'm saying it was that long, but like I don't know. I don't. I wasn't looking at a clock or anything back,
Mm-hmm.
or at least I didn't know how to tell time back then. So
Yeah.
I like didn't know, but it felt like that, but it probably wasn't that long. And I had to use the bathroom, and I was raising my hand, and that teacher wouldn't even like. She wasn't even paying attention to the kids or anything, and I had my hand up for a very, very long time,
Mm-hmm.
and the teacher was completely ignoring me, not even seeing me. I had my hand up and everything, and I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and then she kept ignoring me, and what happened? I peed my pants. That's what she got for ignoring me. And then the
Yeah.
carpet got wet, but hey, it wasn't my fault. It's hers for not calling on me so I could use the bathroom. And then she ended up putting the entire blame on me. What? What?
What did she do?
Just was like, oh my god, Aaron, seriously? What the? Like, she was just like so mad.
Yeah.
And mom, didn't you say that there was like a yearbook calendar thing that I would try to show you always at the end of the day.
Yeah, there
And
was
then,
there was a calendar.
and then
Like she used to use a board, I guess, to show the date or the weather, and I probably every day that's where you guys did a circle time or something.
yeah,
And it had like pictures of all the students in a little pocket, and you every time I went to go pick you up, you wanted to show it to me.
yeah. So I wanted to show it to you, and then that teacher was like, "Don't touch that!"
Yeah.
And then,
Mm-hmm.
like
She
mom
was yelling a lot, right?
yeah, and then the mom stepped in and she said like, "Go ahead and say what you told her."
Yeah, I was like, what's the big deal? He's just showing me because he's excited to show me something from the classroom.
Yeah, and then that teacher was just like, "Duh," and then she just walked away.
Yeah, she used to get angry with me a lot because she thought that I was babying you too much.
Yeah, and then because my grandmother and my grandfather didn't know about all this, and then that teacher knew that since they didn't really know about that, she knew that she could just put the blame on me and then not and then make it look like it was me and not anyone else. And since my grandmother and grandfather did pick me up um often because my mom and dad were at work all the time, and so because of that, she knew that she could just make it look like that the blame was on me because grandma, papa would come in and then they were like, "How's Aaron?" And then the teacher would just go, "I don't know. I don't think he was behaving that well." And then, but what I wasn't, I and I would always I would always listen to the pre-K 3 kids watching TV all the time, playing all the time. And I kept thinking to myself, I wish I could be there.
That felt like a better class maybe for you?
Yeah. And then I think sometimes in the morning, my dad or you would drop me off too early when, like, I think my class was like taking an early morning walk, I think. So I did spend the morning with the pre-K 3 group, and when that happened, I was really happy.
You felt more comfortable there.
Yeah, but then when the class came in, I was like, oh boy, here we go again.
How did being in that class with that teacher make you feel?
Not good. But there was another teacher that came in, and I remember her name. Her name was Miss Diane. At least we all called her Miss Diane. And Miss Diane was really nice to me, and she took care of me like very well. And I really liked Miss Diane because like every time Miss Diane was there and Miss Diane was able to take care of me, I was like, oh my God, thank God that it's not that teacher and it's Miss Diane. Thank Lord.
Yeah, she used to feed you and stuff. So even I felt the same way when I saw her there because I would be like, oh, at least I know you'll eat that day. And she used to let you sit on her lap, right? What did she do?
I don't really remember too much. I just remember her feeding me, but
yeah, she would help to feed you because you didn't really eat too much. Do you remember back then? Sometimes I would pick you up or grandma would pick you up in the middle of the day and we used to go to occupational therapy. Do you remember that? We used to do it like once a week.
maybe, but not
We used to go to the
really.
hospital and used to do, oh, I don't remember her name, but she was really good.
Oh, I think I remember. I think I remember going there, but I don't remember being taken out of the school early.
Yeah, we used to get you like lunch, like maybe after lunchtime, and then take you over there and then bring you back.
Yeah. I mean, I remember being there. I just don't remember leaving early. Maybe I might remember, but I'm not exactly sure. And then I also remember that when class was over, and then my parents had to pick me up like late all the time. So because of that, at school or not, well, in that place, I'm not so sure if I could consider it a school since I don't know.
It's a preschool.
Preschool. So then for like parents that like pick up the kids late, then like the kids would go to the spot like where the with the pre-K 3 kids, and then we would just watch TV the entire time
Mm-hmm.
until our parents would come.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I remember that. And then yeah, I think that's pretty much all I remember. Oh, I also remember at recess, since that teacher treated me unfair, and there was this thing where the kids that misbehaved, they would just like sit to the side at recess.
Mm-hmm.
And since that teacher treated me unfair, like if I was being bad when really I was just being myself, that teacher, I don't want to say anything bad. That teacher's a freaking idiot. At least she was to me, because that's, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I would like sit out of recess, and it was actually like I was more time sitting out than I was playing with everyone else at recess. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
It was terrible.
So it was like a punishment?
Yeah, but I didn't deserve to be punished. I didn't do anything.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah. And then finally, for good God's sake, I left that place.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved to Leonia, and then luckily it was better there, and then yeah.
So now that you mentioned this thing of like putting you in for bad behavior, when you knew you weren't being bad, how did that make you feel?
Upset, and I was like, and I think I remember one time when I was sitting on the side, and then I didn't really understand, and I was like, maybe this is a thing where it's just a time limit, and then maybe I could join in later. So I stayed there for what felt like a few minutes, and then I jumped up and I joined everyone in at recess. But then that nasty teacher came in, and she's like, I thought you were sitting down at the wall, and I was like, oh, and then she like got me back there, and I was like, oh, and I was really sad.
Did that make you feel like you were a bad boy or anything?
That did.
Yeah.
And I felt like, I don't deserve this. Why do I get this?
Yeah. I'm really sad that that happened to you. And I'm sorry because I didn't even know that part. I remember when she would like complain about you not being able to like keep up with the other kids in the class. But I didn't know that she was like punishing you during the recess time.
Oh, she was.
She did it a lot, huh?
Oh.
She also made me feel like I was being a bad mom. A lot. She was always criticizing and judging me with the way that I parented you.
Yeah. My Lord.
Yeah. I think she didn't understand a kid like you, though.
Yeah. She did not understand at all. But like still, she was being harsh.
She was harsh. I agree with you. She was extremely harsh, and that's why I wanted to take you out. And so I didn't even try to enroll you for another year or anything there. I just really wanted to get you out, and then that's when we moved.
Yeah. Did you ever tell that teacher that you were going to leave, and then she was like, did she ever tell you that you can't leave until the end of the year?
No, I could have taken you out probably. Well, you're supposed to like finish off the school year, so that's what we did, and then we left after that.
Yeah, but like, I mean, it's not like you're not allowed to like move away, but like,
yeah, if you move somewhere, you move
it's because also my dad thought I needed discipline, and that's why he had us not move. But yeah, I could not take it over there.
Yeah, that was hard. That was a hard year. Yeah. I want to say that was a hard year. But we learned a lot about what we like and don't like about schools or teachers right?
Yeah, and then that's why I was always happy on the weekends when I was off. Or like whenever I was off from school, that's why I was so happy on those days.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me and for answering some questions that I have for you and you sharing this information with other people because I think it'll be helpful for them to help their kids.
You're welcome.
All right, mister. Thank you so much. I love you, mister. You were great.
Love you too. All right. Bye.
Bye. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your family and friends. Also, join me for my group parenting sessions. I want you to be the first to know, so go directly to my website at www.drdivinalopez.com and share your email with me. That way you'll be the first to know when sessions start. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Dancing into Parenthood and on TikTok at Dr. Divina Lopez. Also, if you like this podcast, please subscribe. That way you always know when a new episode drops. I love you. Bye.
Please keep in mind that all advice given in this podcast is general information. To understand your specific situation, you must consult with your pediatrician.